What is up, Copy Squad? It's your boy, Kyle Milligan of copywriter.com, and today we're going to talk about what do copywriters do. And we're not here to really talk about a job description per se. Kind of want to get into the ins and outs of what a copywriter, how to be a successful copywriter is probably like a very another vague way of framing this title. What we do, what makes us successful, like the skills you need to be a copywriter. I'm kind of circling around this recently. Like yesterday was about like how to land clients, and I kind of went on a bit of a rant there. I'm gonna start linking these things. So yesterday was about how to land like $1,000 a month retainer clients, and like basically the skills and experience that you need there. And I think I want to address this limiting belief that people have. My camera's backwards. Let me get this centered. I want to address this limiting belief that people have around like, I don't have the experience, I don't know what to do. And let's talk about what copywriters do, because it's actually a lot simpler than people probably realize, and the complexity is wrapped up into the sales letter writing itself. But your skill set and what you want to set out to do is actually pretty simple. So I've also done a video before about what copywriting is. So first, let's define what copywriting is. Copywriting is the specific writing with a goal to make a person take action. Cut and dry. It's also known as salesmanship in print. But basically, you're writing with the intent to get someone, to compel someone to action, okay? So I've got a whole video about this. There are other definitions out there that I frankly disagree with that make it more about marketing and building relationships. No, man. If you eject that from your brain, you'll simplify it. Bring it down to as basic as possible. Copywriting is writing to get someone to take an action, okay? So we've got a super basic there at that level. Okay, so what does a copywriter do? How do they do that? Well, I would tell you that you make people take action by triggering 4 specific emotions called the more emotions: new, easy, safe, and big. And for those of you who are new to the channel, maybe, I've written an entire book about this concept. It's called Take Their Money. It's available at kylethewriter.com/book. The reason these emotions are so important is because they speak directly to the decision center of your brain, where neuroscientist Antonio Damasio discovered that if your emotional center is messed up, if it's got damage, you are incapable of making simple decisions. Like one patient, it took him over an hour to decide how to organize the files sitting on his desk. Should he stack them by like importance? Should he stack them by date? Should he stack them by like the thickness of the file? He literally could not decide. He was incapable of simple things like, okay, I'm just going to move all my pencils to this side of the desk. He couldn't make these kinds of decisions anymore. Okay, so once you learn how to speak directly to the decision center of the brain. And one of the things that kind of got me harping on this today is someone sent us a sales letter today, and one of my critiques for this sales letter, when I'm going to send him back some feedback tonight, is that he gave me tons of awesome info. He gave me tons of facts about his opportunity. He basically, some people call this value, but there was no like emotional compelling of I should get in on this because this will benefit me in XYZ way. The research was thorough, it was impressive, it was extremely well written. The guy has tons of potential, but he missed on the emotional part. He missed triggering the decision center of the brain. All these facts did not compel me to action. That's going to be my main critique for this guy today. So what do copywriters do? We compel people to action, okay? And put in another way, very simplified, we come up with ideas that speak directly to the emotional center of the brain, which causes people to take action, okay? Once you learn how to speak directly to the emotional center of the brain, bypass this idea that you can sell on facts and logic, your life will be so much easier. And because I think it's like, people maybe complicate, I don't know why people complicate it and say copywriting is about building relationships, or they tie it into their marketing efforts. I don't know why people do that, but it's actually, the more simplistic it becomes, the easier it becomes for you to understand and execute. And that's why I want to kind of clear up all those other things. Writing copy is to take action. How do we do that? We speak directly to 4 emotions. And the reason we speak to emotions is because science shows us that the rational, logical part of our brain does not actually cause decisions to occur. The emotional part of our brain causes these decisions to occur. So if you can, they don't teach you how to speak to that part of your brain in school. You have to learn it. From my book is like the only place that I've seen anyone specifically address it, like a language that you use to speak directly to emotions. But you cannot learn it in school, and I haven't seen it in any other training so far. So speak directly to the emotional center. You get buy-in, okay? Buy-in emotionally, and then you get people to act. So the big thing I want to say about today's sales letter that I saw was it did not bring in a fresh idea. Okay, so one of the big four emotions, number one, muy importante. Okay, new. Now, that is a very difficult concept to grasp, because the emotions, again, this is all kind of a new way to approach things. It's a new way to look at the world. So what this person did is he submitted, basically, and this is what we tell everybody to do, right? Like, if you want to get work, write up a sales letter and send it in. So someone wrote up a sales letter and they sent it to Joe Schrafer, the publisher to Gore Financial, and said, I think Kyle should take a look at this letter. So Joe said, hey man, do you mind if I send this over to our writer Kyle? And the guy said, great, send it to me. And I was like, hey man, I see what you did here. Okay, you followed the basic outline of another promo, one of my promos. That's why it ended up on my desk. He followed one of the outlines of my promos, and I was like, that's smart. You're copying what works. And then he put in a new headline at the top with kind of like a different way of spinning. That's the hang up I'm going to get to. It's like a different way of spinning the original idea, but it wasn't a new idea. So let me explain that. When I saw the thing that he was offering, like his headline, was what we would call a different expression of the same big idea. So let me just go ahead and tell you what the big idea is. The big idea that I wrote up was, there's an announcement coming. When this announcement hits, one tiny stock is going to explode in value. Okay? That's the big idea, because it needs to be super basic and simple. Announcement's coming, tiny stock is going to soar. Cut and dry, right? Now, what this fella did is he kind of rewrote this thing, and he's doing everything right. The potential is there. This guy can probably be a superstar. And he basically took that same concept and he gave it he used some research to come at it from a different angle, okay? But at the end of the day, the idea underneath it was the same. I said, let's just say what I said. I said some social media stuff was going to happen. He said some sports league stuff is going to happen. And basically the announcement's coming and a stock's going to shoot up in value, okay? So the thing is, he expressed the same idea in a different way. That's not a new idea. So what do copywriters do? Copywriters come up with new ideas, new unique ways to look at a situation that is old, classic, stale. They come up with new unique ideas to reframe that thing and make it more appealing to the world so that it can be sold at scale to lots of people, thousands and thousands of people. So new is number one, muy importante, right? You must have a new, unique element to it. And the reason that's so important is because while this guy had a really cool, unique spin, okay, it was a spin on the same idea. So if anyone has come across my promo already and then they see his, it kind of comes off as the same thing. Like, oh, I've seen this before. As soon as I get that sense in my gut, I'm gone. I already know what I'm looking at. I don't need to read anymore, okay? So he had new research. He had new facts and figures, and he had his own spin on it, but it was the same idea, and therefore I can categorize it. And if you've read my book, very early on in the book, I let you know, if you can categorize what you're reading, then you are done reading that thing. The moment this looks familiar, I am out. I'm done. I get it. I'm not reading this anymore. So that's the major job of a copywriter, is to come up with ideas. All right. So our job is to take, and this is, all right, I got a rant. I just felt a rant come on. Here it comes. Let me lubricate my vocal cords. This is when moral high ground marketers, right? Marketers who make their sales pitch an anti-sales pitch, right? Like, I could have sold you like this. I could have hyped it up. I could have called it this or that, but I didn't because I have integrity. My man, it's cool if you want to leave money on the table. That's your business. But what we do what copywriters do is not immoral. We simply find new angles with which to approach old things and make them interesting. Let's name anything. If anyone watching right now wants to name a product, I will give you an example of exactly what I'm talking about. Name any product. It doesn't have to be internet marketing related, but I'll go ahead. I'll give it 3-second pause, see if anything pops up, and then I'm just going to make up one. Let's use, I'm going to use diet and exercise now for now. If I told you that if you wanted to lose weight and get in shape, all you had to do was diet and exercise. That's every diet and exercise regimen on the planet, right? So is P90X immoral? Is insanity with Shaun T, is that immoral because they hyped it up and they labeled it insanity and it's this whole unique program? Or is P90X immoral because they use the words muscle confusion, which is just a marketing term, right? What really makes a product immoral is whether or not it is truly a sham product. Is it a product that actually delivers on the promise? So for instance, P90X and Insanity both promise the same thing. It will improve your health, right? Perhaps they have more specificity about the time frame, because P90X is a 90-day program, right? And Insanity is like a 90-day deep program too, right? So, I mean, in 90 days, you can get in really, really, really good shape. You can get in good shape in 30 days if you diet and exercise very consistently. So, at the end of the day, and I've done a whole video, I'm talking like a 40-minute video on ethics and marketing, where I'm going to link that too. I got to remind myself, link that, Kyle, when you watch this in YouTube. Link it. Link that ethics video. Where at the end of the day, people who take this moral high ground and poop on all these other successful marketers for doing what is intelligent, that's a rant that I've got right now. It doesn't make any sense. You're wasting air. You're wasting air. Because the people who are going to buy your stuff, they've already bought, right? And just sitting there and being preachy about it, well, I mean, you think that's going to make that person turn around and be like, oh man, now that I realize he's so much more moral, I'm going to go buy this thing. No, people make that decision based on the emotional reaction. If you know how to speak directly to their emotional center of the brain, that triggers new, easy, safe, and big, that compels them to get excited and buy. They don't buy out of pity, sympathy, or just like the fact that, oh, wow, you didn't sell to me, so I'm going to go buy. No, dude, you've got to trigger the buying emotions. So that's something I see all the time. Anytime I pitch my book or I talk about, like, for instance, I talk about my love for Frank Kern. I know there's a lot of detractors for Frank Kern saying he just wraps old things with a new name, right? But that's what marketing is. That's why the South Beach diet, which is the modified carbohydrate diet, that's why the South Beach diet sells. Because they wrapped an old thing, diet and exercise, in a new name. That's marketing, baby. That's not immoral. And you got to get off your high horse if you want to. I mean, you can sell stuff at 50% of scale, right? You'll still sell stuff. But at the end of the day, if you've got a good product, do everything you can to sell it. That's kind of what I'm talking about here. And that's totally gotten off track of what copywriters do, which is the topic here. But what I'm saying is do not limit your idea selection to, like, feel like you need to conform to these very judgmental marketers who feel superior because they don't use exciting marketing. Like, whenever you've got an exciting idea and you feel like it will make people excited to get your stuff, and your stuff actually delivers, right? So Fred Fox over here says coffee. Coffee's a product. Okay, so, I mean, I think I've seen one called, like, Bulletproof Coffee or something like that. It just uses marketing, like, makes coffee badass. I don't know if it's Bulletproof Coffee, but I think that's what it's called. And that's the only coffee I can name off the top of my head. And the only reason I can name that coffee off the top of my head, like, that fast, I can now think of, like, Folgers, Maxwell House. Those are big box brands. Like, you'll see them, you just know them. I know the one from work is, like, Greenhouse Coffee. But what was the one unique one that came straight to mind? Bulletproof Coffee. And I don't even know if that's what it's really called, but I know it because they just made it badass. Is that a real thing? I'm typing it in now. All they did is they took coffee and wrapped it in something awesome. What is Bulletproof Coffee and the official way to make it? Yeah, that's it, man. They just gave coffee, which is coffee, they gave it a cool name. They're going to get some marketing spin, hype it up, right? So, again, nothing wrong with quote-quote hypey marketing. And I don't think it's really cool to have other marketers tear down what they call hype marketers or whatever because they have this moral high ground. Diana Gordon says, pretty sure we just sit around and talk trash. We do talk a lot of trash. But we do it in private. I don't do it on Facebook Lives. Joe says, what's up, coach? Glad to see you live again. Yes, sir. Every day, 4 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. I will be here. So what do copywriters do? We just come up with these new spins, okay? And I think that's huge. And that's why I kind of went on this rant, is because we come up with new spins, new ideas for age-old things. We come up with cool ways to label things and a new approach that makes old things exciting again. Because, again, diet and exercise is not exciting, right? It's a copywriter's job to do the research, find the thing that makes it exciting, and bring it to the surface. When I was ranting yesterday about people who say, I don't have any experience, how am I supposed to get clients? You do have experience. You need to dive into the research. You need to find that cool, unique element that makes you awesome. You need to bring it to the surface and put it in the spotlight. The beauty of copywriting, the reason it works so well, is because people pay attention to the things that you draw attention to. That goes for everything in life. And I'll tell you what, that's like a huge, so Joe says we are seducers. Okay, so speaking of seduction, in the dating game, okay, like in my 20s, one of like the best pieces of advice I ever got from anyone ever, stuck with me forever. My hair started like going at like age 16. And all my friends, now they all look probably worse than me. Like they're like bald. We're all like 30 now. But when I was like 18, 19, 20 and my hair was thinning and I was like, oh, I'm like 5'7". I'm not a very tall guy either. And then I had like this huge chip on my shoulder. Like everything was going against me. This isn't right. No one's ever going to want a short bald guy, right? So that was like my big thing. And someone told me like, dude, no one else but you cares about those things. Like people will only pay attention to the things that you draw attention to. And that was like a big game changer for me that kind of shifted my mindset. So that's like for the bad stuff. Like if you're insecure about something, usually those types of things only might matter to you. And you only bring them to the light because you put attention, focus on them, and it comes out. Same thing with the copywriting for the good stuff. Whatever you bring to focus, whatever you bring into the light is what everyone will see. All they'll see is what is there. So I can give you like a scientific study to kind of talk about this a little bit. And this is a little bit different. It's a little bit of a tangent. It's like a China set study. Basically, there's like 13 pieces of china, and it costs like, I don't even think it has a cost. Let's assume it just is, okay? Let's say you have an option. 13 pieces of china. They're in perfect shape, whatever. Now you have option B. You get 20 pieces of china, which include the original 13, plus 4 more and 3 broken pieces of china. The study proved that all the broken pieces of china mixed in with the good china actually caused people to select the smaller thing, right? So I'm not sure exactly what I'm trying to prove here, but basically when you address and show the broken elements in the light, like if people weren't aware there were broken things in the china, it would only make sense to take the extra china. But whenever someone brought to the surface, there's all these broken pieces, all of a sudden they don't want it anymore. That goes with the element of safety. New, easy, safe, and big. And that's a really weird way to talk about it, right? But it's because that people were aware there's broken things in this china set. They no longer wanted it, even though it had the same amount of china as the good set, plus 3 other pieces of good china, right? So what you can do as a copywriter is you can kind of highlight the fact that there are all these good pieces of china and not bring so much attention to the bad parts. And they don't even necessarily be bad. And what I mean by that is when I see people on Facebook groups asking for copywriting jobs where they say, hey, I'm new to copywriting. You're highlighting you have no experience. Don't highlight that. Instead, highlight the things that you bring to the table. Like you should never lead with the fact that you don't have any experience, yet people do that all the time. So a copywriter's job is to bring fresh, new ideas to age-old things that have become stale or aren't exciting anymore. At Agora Financial, we are tasked with about every single day finding a new way to frame and investment newsletters, which are like advice and research about the stock market, right? It's always been like buy low, sell high, right? That's the whole thing. But our whole job is to make that exciting and sexy every single day. So at some point, you try a bunch of different things, and other people outside will just kind of look at from the outside, look in, and they'll be like, oh, that's too hypey, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, when we can convey something new and exciting to people and strike those big 4 emotions of new, easy, safe, and big, as I outline in my book, Take Their Money at kylethewriter.com/book. Those are the kinds of things that get people wanting to buy things. They're excited about it. I hope this makes sense, guys, because I feel like I've been very rambly on this one. Okay, so let's talk about some recap stuff. What is copywriting? Copywriting is writing with the intent to make someone take action. Okay, forget everything else. You can also call it salesmanship in print. I will allow it. So copywriting is writing with the intent to get someone to take action. How do you get someone to take action? You strike them at their emotional center of their brain. How do you strike them at the emotional center of their brain? First off, Well, let's talk about that, and then I got one more. So how do you strike at the emotional center of their brain so that they will take action? You do that by using the big 4 emotions that I talk about in the book, Take Their Money: new, easy, safe, and big. These emotions have been time tested to make people buy things. They helped me gross $7.1 million in a single year at Agora Financial in sales. It's not my take home. It's what I did for Agora sales. So I've seen it happen. I still use these 4 emotions to do pretty much all my writing. I use them in my videos as well. Someone called me out the other day, said, "Hey, I saw you use them new, easy, safe, and big on me." So yeah, I mean, they just work. They get you riled up. They get you hyped. Okay, so why is it important that you speak to the emotional center of the brain? Why shouldn't you sell with value? And why shouldn't you sell with like your track record or your facts and figures about how good your product is? Because it doesn't work. The fact is, neuroscientists have found decisions are made at the emotional center of your brain. If you try to sell on pros and cons or logic, etc., and you don't weave in the emotions of new, easy, safe, and big into those facts and figures, or you don't know how, if you simply spew facts, then you are going to be basically hitting a brick wall. The emotional center is what's going to make the decision, and then the logical center of the brain actually justifies that decision. So the new, easy, safe, and big gets them to say yes, and then logical part of the brain has to justify it somehow. Well, that's where, if you wrap those emotions into the facts, you will win. And this all comes about because I had a great writer send in an awesome sales letter today, and I feel like he totally missed on a lot of these parts of the emotion. He gave me all this great research. He gave me all these awesome facts. But where I think he was missing was, one, they weren't weaved in with emotion. It didn't get me hyped. It was just like fact after fact after fact after fact. And he wasn't really addressing any objections. He was just spewing all this information at me. The other thing that he missed is he didn't come up with a fresh idea. He simply came up with a new angle on my existing idea. And that's why Joe sent that over to me to look at. So he sent it to me to look at because it was similar to the promo, which I'd already written. Not because he did a good job or a bad job. Okay, just want to clear that up. So that covers that. What copywriting is, what we do, what copywriters do, why you need to speak to the emotional center of the brain, and you're going to learn all this if you want to learn how to write the words that really make you rich. They don't teach you how to do this stuff in school. If you want to learn how to speak directly to the emotional center of the brain, I suggest you take a minute and go check out my book, Take Their Money, at copywriter.com/book. There's also a research package at the bottom of that for anyone who's really interested in doing that deep dive research, where you can find all this information, this awesome statistics and facts that prove your argument and case, and how to weave the emotions in there. I give you a case study. I show you how I did it for Rich Dad, Poor Dad's retirement masterclass sales letter that I wrote, and you can follow along with that and learn how to do research like someone at Agora Financial. It's at the bottom of that same sales page. I don't see any questions coming through. I really appreciate everyone coming in. I hope this makes sense. What do copywriters do in a short sentence? We get people to take action by giving old things new ideas. And the reason I ranted about that just a moment ago is because you should not be, no other marketer should shame another marketer for trying to come up with new, fresh ideas. Okay? If you're selling a sham product where you don't actually help people, that's unethical. It's immoral. You shouldn't do that. But however, if we're selling investment newsletters with research about how to better understand the markets or invest better or safer, smarter, and we have marketing that gets people excited about that very dry topic, but at the end of the day, we have all these testimonials showing that people have made hundreds of thousands of dollars using this information, right? That's a good product. People just want to look at the marketing and not the results. That's my beef. People want to look at the marketing and not the results. It doesn't matter. As long as the marketing gets you to a good result and you don't outright lie or mislead people. Like, you can't just come out of left field and tell lies and stuff like that, right? I think that's a big thing for me. Shouldn't be shamed for trying hard to come up with new ideas and exciting ideas. That's what copywriters do. Thanks so much for tuning in, Copy Squad. One more time, one last pitch. If you want to learn how to speak to the emotional center of the brain, which is the secret language of copywriting, go to copywriter.com/book and check out my book. It's called Take Their Money. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace out, Copy Squad.